Why I'm right. Why I'm right. Unfinished. So this one came after Citizens Audit. Um, Citizens Audit being, right now it's about 12:40. 12:40. It's Tuesday, the 27th of November, 2018, and that's why the light is so bright behind me. Why I'm right. So, me and Shah, I just did the Citizens Audit yesterday. Um, just to catch up on that girl. I guess this is practice for me doing videos every day. So eventually I'll be doing videos almost every day, if not every day. So again, the habit of describing things that happen to me. But then that's not what these videos are supposed to be a majority about. But the girl hasn't responded. So since I talked about it in the last video, we had, thanks for helping me process some thoughts for my writing. I hope you find what you're looking for. Deuces. Then I had, after an hour about thinking, I was like, you know what? Just throw that cockpick out there. Maybe she's just more about the hookup. And then she says, lol, a glimpse of your NYC life. I'm like, okay, we have traction. Maybe it was more of a low scale thing. I said, lol, yeah, didn't expect you to respond, more of a crazy Shaz signing off pic. But then, this is the problem. Text too much if you're trying to get laid. I think I'm trying to be more sincere than get laid. I think that's what it is that I have the appearance of maybe just hook up, but I'm trying to invite more sincere energy in my life. So I explained myself a little bit more. I said, did my video self-reflections today, and you kept coming up. So I think I felt guilty about making the trip so much about me and my project. Sorry about that. Really grateful for the experience. So it's like, I was thinking about that this morning when I worked out. I thought, because that was, I responded and then no response. And that's the rule you learn is you wait for a response. If there's no response, people don't really say no to you. People don't like feeling uncomfortable. So there should be a give and take. It never, in my experience, helps to give more. That's like a dignity, having dignity and pride. If you say something and it's not received, what can you do? I could, if I had an email, I can try to go to a different venue, a different format, like send an email. But even then, email's too long. Then that's silly too. So people, not just women, but people say no through silence and through a lack of attention. And if a girl's on your radar, or someone, if you're a girl, a guy's on your radar, but if you notice someone, there's a chance that they put themselves to be noticed. She walked into your field of view. A lot of times in my life, I notice people who come into my field of view or I start talking to, but guys will start talking to most anyone. If a girl doesn't want to be approached or talked to, usually she stays away from those guys and gets closer to others. Some of this might be subconscious. We wouldn't even realize what we're doing. So if there's no response, I can't respond. 2 text messages, we're done. But I was thinking about that while I was working out this morning. I was thinking, well, what is this? Because what is it in me? This happens a lot where I'm starting to get to know someone, but I'm adamant about framing it a certain way. Like, I felt weird just leaving it hanging. I made it a little sexual with a dick pic, and then that got a response. But then instead of keeping that sexual thing, like, if I was going that route, when you put yourself out a certain way, you're received a certain way. And I thought I was received a little bit more creative, introspective way when we spent so much time together. So I thought, let me just show her I'm just a little bit more like messing around. And that got a response. But then I went right back to analysis, sorry about the weekend, and then also apologizing. If she's looking for a dude just to kind of take her in his arms and give her the business, that's not, you don't lead with an apology. But this goes to the idea of, is that what I'm looking for? Under certain respects, why wouldn't I consider just hooking up with her? Why didn't I just shut off that part of my brain? And I was thinking, well, there's some things about her that seemed a little not self-aware, and part of my processing and talking seems like it's too much talking, but I trust my intuition, and it's kept me from bullshit a lot. It kept me from doing drugs with a drug girl when I was young. And then we'll get back to this why I'm right. Kept me out of that relationship, and now she has someone better for her. And there's deal breakers, that there's reasons why we're not together, even though we traveled around California. I was noticing them when I was smoking that cigarette in Berkeley with that girl, and we were having a high spiritual, moral conversation. I needed more of my intellectual equal. She, funny enough, has grown more my intellectual equal since we've been apart, but because she went to Portland and read her own thing, she's doing her own thing. So, and she's not doing it for me. She's just has her own interest. She's into green energy, and she points out reasons why we're not together sometimes too. That's what friends do. We're like, oh, that's kind of funny that we were together, because we're really like, that's what your best friends aren't you. They're very similar, but there's reasons why they're your friends, and those reasons are a lot of the things that you don't have in common, and then you cover each other's blind spots. So she helps me. She has a kinder heart. I think she's more susceptible to bullshit, but I think the same with my folks. That's funny. There's something this morning where this guy, this neighbor, my parents live in a small little community of apartments. Very simple. We have a highway right behind us. A lot of noise, as the simple in life are wont to do. I think they pay like $1,200 for this place or something super cheap. Neighbors pay like $1,000. And this guy's praying with my mom this morning out front, and I was outside helping the neighbor because her toilet overflowed, and I go and I'm waiting for them to be done because they're in the doorway. So I leave the neighbor's house, and I'm coming back to my folks. They're more like duplexes and apartments. They're just houses attached to each other. Maybe 5 on the whole lot. So the landlord's doing pretty good for himself. But it's a simple way to live, and they don't have much, but they get by. Probably make like $60,000 or so, maybe a little bit more from their insurance agency. So they're lower middle class, or their lifestyle is okay. They're not that bad off, but no health insurance, no savings, no safety net. The reason why I work hard is because I know that end of life stuff is tough, and so we need to make sure we have some money. But another reason I'm taking this year off, if I don't do it now, we're just a calamity, medical emergency away from destitute poverty or huge medical bills. Right now they're living the lifestyle where like we don't even have funeral money. So that's pretty, when you have car washes because someone passed, you have to do the car wash thing. That means that you haven't gotten your finances in order. We're figuring it out. So one of the reasons of my giving up the life I was living, I guess if I'd stayed on that, I would have had more comfort. I was starting to pay the car payment. Eventually I wanted to pick up this house payment and then get them back into a house they own. But I think there's more reward at the end of this path, financially, and then also personally. And then that's what it is. Living, having your comfort, but also your dignity of your values is what I'm aiming for. Just a little bit higher level of life than what I had. Not just material comfort, but doing what I think is important and meaningful as a way to contribute to the side of society I'm in, but also be the person that I think I should be, that I'm trying to be all my life. And then that's what this is, trying to figure out who is that person then. All these actions and people I've loved and things I've done. But she's out there with a guy praying, and I'm just waiting him out because we've been talking a little bit about religion. I tried to tell her I'm on that pre-Christian, pre-Jesus path, just whatever. There's this really good saying I told her. I said, there's this Inuit, Alaskan, Eskimo type, and the Christian missionary is telling him all about God and Jesus. And then the Inuit asks, well, do I have a choice? Because the missionary, I'm messing this up, the missionary is saying, yeah, if you believe in Jesus and Lord and Savior and believe in God, you'll go to heaven. And if you don't, well, you're going to be damned to go to hell and for eternity. And the Inuit's like, do I have a choice? And the missionary says, yeah, of course. It's your own free will. God gave you free will. He wants you to choose willingly to believe in him and worship him. And then the Inuit says, but what about all the people who don't know about Jesus, know about God? And the missionary says, well, yeah, God's not going to damn those people to hell just for not hearing about him. He's a just, honorable, whatever he said. And then it's like, well, why'd you tell me then? Because you told me, and now I have to either choose to follow or I'm down to hell. If you didn't tell me, God wouldn't damn me. So kind of like a moral loophole. They say there's Pascal's wager where um, if there is a God, might as well believe in him just in case to cover that bet. But there's also other ways to refute the logic of Christianity and religion, and that's one of them. Just pretend like you've never heard it before. Why would you introduce someone into that type of quandary where you pick the right answer, you go to hell, when if you claim ignorance, it's okay. And to go one step farther, just look in history. There's stuff. Zoroastrianism, I'm really curious about recently. I just remembered that was one of the oldest religions in the world. It could go back to maybe 2000 BC. So it's older than Judaism, the Abrahamic faith, and those probably came out of it. So when people feel like they're the chosen one because they're Jewish or Christian or whatever, there's older stuff. So why not be a Zoroastrian? Everyone respects religion because they respect people of faith and people with strong convictions, and there's a moral tradition which goes to your moral development. There's this universal concept of morality which faith seems to help do that, but it also helps enable excuses for objectification if you're not a part of this club or this tribe. And then people also respect time, whatever lasts, what's been around for a long time. Time is a indicator of truth inherent in our human nature, whatever mental ability inborn in us which allows us to be moral is attached to a conception of time, because what lasts longer seems to have more moral validity. Judaism and Jewish people were respected because they had a long history. This is documented. I read this book, The History of God, and she talked about the Islam, the girl who wrote this book, the woman, she said how it was one of the motivations possibly to unite the Arab tribes, to give them a religion that tapped into these longer religions, because people didn't respect them without a tradition of keeping their history. And so her opinion, I think, was that he just added stuff onto the Abrahamic religions, and now these are just the new prophets. Mormonism, let's talk about them. They don't threaten people who disagree with their religion. Mormonism, do they? No. The Book of Mormon, they took out ads in that play, just advertising if you want to get to know the real Mormons. But so they just add prophets onto the end of Abrahamic religions, and they're so cynical apparently about it that they try to really hold on to that racism. I was reading some stuff online today about how racist they are in their doctrine, but because it's not spirituality, like how truthful is Christianity and how much of it is dogma. Well, when you add on just these prophets to the end of stuff, it's probably more dogma than truth, and so you're far away from whatever spiritual core which was allowing you to love each other. If there's a spiritual core of Jesus in the Bible, that's great, but there's some parts in the Bible where it says, if you don't believe in this, you're going to hell. Now that's authoritarian, and people who just accept that. What came first, the chicken or the egg? Are they more authoritarian because they accept an authoritarian religion? Or do they accept it just because they're more prone to follow authoritarians? And so I'm interested in that psychological question. And this is in my mind. They're praying, and I'm trying not to be too much of a pain while I stay here with my folks and do my thing, and they're giving me comfort. Before this, I was on the street, or I was getting kicked out from friend to friend. So I do have to appreciate the reality of my situation. I've let my life fall apart, and now in this period of my life, I'm only relying on the comfort of friends and family. But that's friends and family. I don't know this guy, and so I separate my friends' friends from my friends, my family's friends from my friends. My circle's very small. So they're done, and I walk up to go inside, and he says, "Hey, we were just praying for you." And I'm like, "All right, I need to correct this man." So I say, "You know what? I don't let anyone be on top of me. No dejo nadie arriba de mí. No tengo jefe. I don't have a boss. No one's above me." In my broken Spanish, he's Mexican, and all Mexican old Mexican pastor who apparently takes clothing and stuff to the jails and across the border. He tells my mom about all this good stuff. I know these people in my folks' life, all our life growing up. They seem to attract con men. So maybe this guy's not a con artist, but they give money to these people and they hear their stories and they're like, here's money to help you on your missions. And my mom always calls me too harsh when I suspect their stories. Some of them are proven to be silly or stupid or lies, outright lies. That's how they get taken advantage of. But so she claims this guy's a really good man of God. And he says, we're praying for you. And I just look at him and I say, no dejo nadie arriba de mí. Yo no tengo jefe. I don't need your prayers. And he's still talking. And so now I have to, instead of going inside, what I've learned in New York and how I'm trying to live, and I think this ties back to the girl I just hung out with recently, is this whole process is to correct my word and to just solidify who I believe I am. And so when I try to do something very difficult, start a political party, run for president, things that maybe have a low chance of probability, and I'm doing it with strategy and tactics in mind. One of my assets is speed. I believe a clear mind, if my worldview is sharper than the next person and my sincerity is more pure, acknowledging that purity makes the poison. It's as pure as a person can be without being a total ass or self-righteous. And so that way when we start doing things, we're just doing them at a different speed. There's this book about that, the speed of, I forgot, the Harvard programmer. She stayed with me for a little bit, and we were talking like this, just brainstorming stupid stuff, and she smokes weed. She's pretty cool, laid back, very smart girl. She went to Harvard for computer science. See, the women in my life inspire me. I get certain, maybe I'm leading with my dick, but I never hooked up with that Harvard girl. But I enjoyed her company. She was beautiful, and she was a really awesome girl, the Indian girl. But we just vibed. We had our conversations were great, and we went to a rooftop pool once, and it was just like, I love people where it's just you and them, and there could be 100 people around, but our conversation's so engaging. It's our world is just, we were like in the middle of the pool talking, but she had my attention, and I could tell I had hers. She was so that's like a possible relationship. I was a little too crazy in my life to even approach the subject. I was still kind of with a dancer girl and some other stuff. Though the dancer girl was in Europe with some other dudes, but that's complicated. All right, 20 minutes. I haven't even read this thing, and this thing's long, so this is gonna be an hour video. But the guy starts talking. I said, I don't have bosses. I don't, you're praying for me. What are we really talking about? And so I square up to him, really, and this is stuff that you can be casual in your life, and then there's times not to be casual. And so one man to another man, and I'm staying with my folks. I don't know who these people are, and my folks a lot of times, my friends even, oh, these are my friends, and they introduce me, and I'm like, let me see who this is really quick. Like, you're my friend, this is casual, but now this is a stranger. So I just square up to him, and I look at him in the eyes, and I say, my name is Shaz. Or no, I said, what's your name? And he gave me his name. And then I put out my hand, and I said, my name is Shaz, and shook his hand, and looked him in the eyes. And that's how a man tells another man. I don't know how females do it, and I act a little different around females. I'm not as aggressive sometimes, just my nature. And I said, your name's not Shaz. Your name's David. And he smiles. Oh, no. First, when I said I don't allow people above me, he tells me, oh, but the black lady? He's saying our neighbor that I just went and helped out this morning. Her toilet was overflowing. I showed her how to turn off the water. Acknowledged the toilet's probably broken. It's the landlord's fault. Gave her some real estate advice. You have rights. Don't let him bully you. If this stuff's getting broken, she has renter's insurance. I said, that's going to cover all the water damage. Don't worry about it. You're good. But, so I'm coming back into my house. This is all this morning. And he's like, I'm like, I don't let people, you're praying for me? I don't let people put themselves above me. I'm sorry, man. I'm equal with everyone. So igual de Jesus, de Buddha, lo mismo. And then he says, oh, but you let the black girl put herself above you. So I ignore that comment. And that's one of the reasons why I squared up with him. I'm like, okay, so what is your name? My name is Shaz. And looked at him like, let's see what you're all about. Small little Mexican old man. And he's like, your name's not Shaz, your name's David. And he looks at And I said, I just told you I don't let people put themselves above me. But no, no. Tell me what I should call myself. Tell me how I should live. And I turned to my mom and I said, this man doesn't respect me. I have no use for him. And I walked inside. And she got upset at me. She said, I mean, she didn't get upset. My folks staying with them for like 2 months now, a month and a half. They're starting to see like I'm try to be kind and helpful around the house. Me working out, they see the discipline and what I'm doing, and I don't know if they think money's going to come at the end of it, but they know that um, if I'm going to do something like this in my life, just I'll get it out of my system. I have this. I'm being creative right now. Time to create. But so she wasn't upset. She was just like, "Why do you have to be so harsh on people?" And she was trying to apologize for me to him, and then to me. And I said, "You weren't listening. If you just listen to how people talk, you'll get their values really quickly. I'm helping a neighbor, and that's someone putting themselves above me. I'm giving out the goodness of my heart, doing what the Christian should do. You say you're praying for me, and yet you don't recognize that it doesn't matter how much, like our neighbor, she's a little loud. She's nice, but she sings Aretha Franklin stuff, and she's got a big personality, goes to church, and a lot of the people in Southern California in this area go to church, and it's a big part of their life. I don't argue with her. She doesn't challenge me or judge me in any way. I don't feel any aggression from her. I told her, when I see her in passing, how are you doing? So that's why she was calling for me this morning. Because I told her, if you need anything, let me know. I'm around. And I went and I helped her. That's what you do in life. Just try to be a good person. This guy, he says he's praying for me. I say, I acknowledge that type of communication. I've dealt with these religious hucksters before. I'm like, I don't need anything from you. If I need prayer, if I'm at a point where it's not like I don't believe in it, if you want to give me your spiritual blessings, great. But I feel like you're just trying to be that guy right now. So I was like, no, I don't do that. And then he's like, basically, don't receive gifts, because a gift usually is the beginning of a relationship, even if it's just a prayer. Um, but you let her be on top of you, seeing as if I'm subservient to her, when that's not my character either. The strong can afford to be kind. All of these things that I believe now, where did I learn them? I lived my life doing what I can for people around me when I can, and then learning when I can't or when I shouldn't. But if that's practicing charity. You don't want to be more principled than you are charitable. You want to be in the habit of, when you can, offered. And I noticed that in New York, I was starting to get mad or argue with the homeless on the street. I might have a point, but like that's kind of like Donald Trump has a story where he argued with, I don't want to say that guy's name, but yeah, perspective. If someone's suffering, no matter how principled you are, I think I mentioned this in a relationship. Even if you think you're right, remember the human. Focus. Uh, is it focused? I'm blurry right now. Hold up a sec. There we go. A little bit. But yeah, and then so I'm like, all right. So just real quick, that off-colored joke, I appreciate it. Um, and then so I squared up to him and let him know we're gonna have a little bit more serious interaction. Who are you? This is who I am. That means something to some people. When you look at them in the eyes and you shake their hands, it means something to some people. And I met people, power, people with money, violent people, people who threaten my life, people who, there's this one guy in Puerto Rico, I'm driving by with his girlfriend. They were on again, off again, and there was violence between them and stuff. I was trying to stay out of it, learning when to get in and get out of stuff, telling her, you shouldn't really be with this guy, but I can't really defend you if you're willingly going to be with him, and then you guys get in a fight and you have a black eye. It's like, I'm learning that like chivalry doesn't mean defending every single woman out there. So he's yapping while we drive by, and I'm like, stop the car, I gotta go talk to this dude. And she was like, no, don't make things bad. And I'm like, I'm not a violent dude, but I don't feel good with people talking behind my back. I gotta, if he's mad at me, let's go have it out right now. Or I'm not gonna have people behind my back talking about they saw me and I already know how this is gonna go. I was in the car with you and they saw me and blah blah blah. And people already in Puerto Rico were starting to start rumors about me. So I was like, let's go just squash any stupid stuff. So I said, go down to the store. She was going to the store. I said, come back in 10 minutes and pick me up. It'd be cool. So I walk up to him. I'm like, hey, yo, dude, what's up? Why are you mad? What's going on? And he's like, he's all puffing his chest. He's about my size. It's not like one person's bigger than the other, and he's older, and he's from there, which means a lot. And friends, family, everyone's related. And but I'm being humble. I try to walk humbly. So I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? You yelling at me in the car? You good? And he gets behind his property line and says, oh, what? You gonna come and you gonna fucking try to fight me now? I'm like, nah, man, I'm good. I was like, if I'm a good man and you're a good man, we shouldn't have any problems. That's your relationship. That's your girl. I'm not trying to get in your shit. But that's my friend. So your relationship stops where my friendship starts. I'm not trying to get in your stuff. I don't. What's your issue here? I was giving him as much respect as I could without putting myself below him, and that's a difficult way to walk in life. I'm not better, but I'm not worse than anyone. I don't want to threaten or attack anyone, but I can't take any shit. I can't let you see me as weak. I can't. You're talking while I'm leaving. It's like, no, I'm. You could talk to my face. So I walked up to him, and then when he got beyond the property line, started saying, "Oh, are you gonna fight me?" I'm like, "Oh, this guy's just fucking. He's not even. This guy's. He basically, to me, meeting people in my life. By that time, I was 28, maybe 29. I knew when I was in danger and when I was not, and I wasn't in danger from this guy, not to my face. Now, his type of mouth might put me in danger behind my back, and that's the issue. I just wanted to go up to him to his face and be like, look, if you got an issue, I'm very reasonable, very nice. We could do it right here. We had no reason to fucking do that shit behind people's back and stuff. And from just driving by the guy, I just saw him, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, no. Now he knows that's not what we do. We talk, and whatever language you speak. And he was like, he got all up in my face, and I was very calm. So I was like, look, dude, if I'm just trying to be cool. And then he was like, but he saw I wasn't gonna do shit. And then he said some shit that's neither here nor there. And then I looked at him, and I was like, all right. And I walked away. But it's like, that's how you can stand up for yourself without fighting, or without, that's control of your emotions. It was like, no, I've let stuff like that go, and I see how it escalates. And there's times when I should have fought someone, because when we didn't fight then, and that's what I realized when I was in that bar in New York, when a man decides to fight you, it's really hard for him to turn that off. So sometimes you're not gonna kill each other. Just fucking bloody each other up, like have it out, like kids do it. Like we wrestled, we fought when we were younger. You're not gonna there's no knives or guns involved, but if there's like a rowdiness, you make friends sometimes that way. So sometimes I thought, well, maybe we should have hashed it out instead of letting stuff simmer for like 5 years, and now you have bad blood. So with this guy out front, I've just learned to try to nip things in the bud. And that whole, I'm going to pray for you, and I was like, that's not really how I do things. And then he was like, oh, I don't let people above me. Oh, but you let her above me. It's like, now you're showing me you're not really like that good Christian. You're that power Christian. That me helping someone is power. So you're praying for me is power? Is that what we're doing? So all of those are unspoken, looked at him in the eyes. What's up? This is who I am. And they said, oh, no, that's not who you are. I was like, oh, okay. So my word means nothing to you right here because you know my mother. And then afterwards, I told my mom and dad, I said, you guys could disrespect me. You can call me whatever you want. I think those are the rules in life. You gave me life. You can, what I tell you is different than what you tell me. You're the boss. And I don't smoke weed in their house anymore. I ran out, but I'm not gonna, I respect them more than enjoy the things I enjoy. So I tone it down a little bit while I'm here. But I said when I leave here, and that guy or anything else, I gotta be a certain way. I'm trying to correct my word and have it. And then when people come at you and they use their word against you, all right, let's inspect your word. Let's inspect my word. That's all I have is my word and my character. And then that way, I was wondering earlier this year, where does that come from? That desire to be so, just, I am who I am, and then ask people to just respect that. And that was, I think it's just laziness, just like genius and invention is laziness. Just geniuses don't want to work, so they invent ways to get out of work or make it more efficient. They look at stuff and that bugs them in efficiency. So my natural state is chill, really high on mushrooms, like 5 grams. I was just like, I really like being after 50 deep breaths. Just really chill. That's when I get my best thoughts. That's how you feel after sex. After a good workout, you're pumped up. You're also like, you're just, there's a certain confidence. The strong can afford to be kind, peaceful, vulnerable, because there's like a wisdom to that meditative calmness. And the samurai had it, the Bushido, the kung fu artists who were Zen Buddhist monks at heart. There's at the highest levels of mental clarity and calmness is the highest levels of physical performance, of romance, of it's like an aphrodisiac, confidence and calmness, in my experience in places I've been. Um, but it comes from this, like, if you have that good of a word, that just really slight, like, look at this isn't who I am or what I'm about. It makes everything just that much more efficient. A little bit of energy goes a long way. If you keep your mind really calm and clear as a pond, then when things happen, you can really observe stuff because you see what are your thoughts and then what's happening and what are your reactions to it and then everything else. And you don't get lost in the chaos and the confusion. And you can actually thrive in it because you know who you are and you know what is coming from you, which is a reaction, and what's coming from you, which is purposeful, even if it's small purposeful movements. That's what the dancer girl, she was sexy as hell, the sexiest girl I've been with by far. Her energy, how she controlled it, not just her physical appearance, and I saw her do this to guys. Um, she's a dancer, but she would talk about small movements and moving her body like a piece of art, and it's all in this subtlety. And that's why I talked to her about philosophy and other stuff, that yeah, there's a philosophy to how you move, which is very similar to a philosophy on how I like to live my life. And that's why we vibed on how she managed her energy and her sexuality and her human body, her this meat sack. She noticed it wasn't just all her. That was our first night together taking mushrooms on my roof. It was I could recognize in her there's this wisdom that's not like a school wisdom. It's a learned in life, in touch with your spiritual self. This is what it is, but I'll do with it what I will. But anyways, and how does that relate? So this guy, I shut down his little huckster Christian bullshit just within 30-second conversation. I'm not about what you're about. Thank you. No. Next time we talk, maybe he'll respect me more, or at least listen to what I say and not just dismiss it, because I don't think that's how you treat other people. Um, and then my mom was like, he was just joking. I was like, so am I then. We're both joking. This is just a big old joke and we'll both laugh about it later, huh? And then this girl, so this girl's not, if she doesn't respond, it's like, I guess I demand that the world accepts me on my terms. And then this leads to the project in a way, so why I'm right. I left Shaw, we ran out of money, we had an argument, my friends kicked us, we were trying to stay in a place in San Francisco, at my friend's place. Their girlfriends, they both had girlfriends at the time, those two guys. And so the girlfriends weren't having it. It was my army buddy from way back, but I was getting on everyone's nerves. Everyone was like, Shaz, why don't you just get a job? Like, you're being fucking lazy. Like, everyone else has to work, but you gotta go around and do this thing. And I guess I wasn't prioritizing the money aspect of the book deal. That there is money that's supposed to come from the book deal, but I was so in the clouds that I wasn't being pragmatic about doing it like a career, which is what I'm trying to do here. This is a personal thing, but I'm doing the personal thing, but there is a book project coming out of this too. So after making money in real estate, I've learned to respect the money aspect of things a little bit more. After Occupy Wall Street, I think that was my biggest blind spot, that let's make some money and not be superstitious about it. I'm in here begging for food in stores while around us this movement fractures and falls apart because no one has a responsible view of money. And I'm a part of that problem. So, and then how can I ask them to audit their books and stuff? And they're like, who are you? If you don't have a responsible view of money, possibly when you try to do good work, people will think you're a con man, or even worse is you just don't know how to manage money or manage schedules or manage people, and emotions get involved. Financial decisions shouldn't be emotional. Strategic, logical decisions about logistics shouldn't be emotional. So the emotion has a play in it, but emotion is compact thought, I think. So you have to unpack those thoughts and make sure that you have to audit them, audit your emotions. And that's what the meditative process, when you have strong emotions, it's good. You don't want to be cold. That's what I used to think, that Eastern philosophy was cold. But as I start to see it's all on the same continuum, that no, it's just a way to, there's this really good, and that's what Zen Buddhism is great. There's good examples of the monks being emotional, and then their logic behind it. It's just not where you want to live full time. It's a dangerous place to live full time. It's an unhealthy place to live full time. Um, so yeah, I think that's where I'm at with this girl right now, is that I'm laying the groundwork of this is who I am. I do get in these manic phases where I'm creating, and you suffered that when we went on this trip. I think it was cool for a little bit, but towards the end, I was still like verbalizing a lot because I'm used to doing these videos. So I apologize for that. And I showed her a little sexiness. And then now she has to figure it out. It's up to her to figure out this complexity. And then if there's someone that maybe I had more interest in, maybe I would do a slower reveal. But in the back of my mind, if I was honest with myself, I'm really more about this project. And then I'll be on the prowl when I'm on the prowl, when I have some money in my pocket. I never really liked trying to date girls when I'm poor. I've done it for most of my life, but when I turned like 30 and started making money in real estate, I started to appreciate a different type of living. When it's nice to have a little bit of money in your pocket when you're dealing with certain things. It's nice to solve problems when you go out. But because the other way to do it, where you're just getting laid, but you're not really having money in your pocket, then how much of it is your horniness or your romance, and how much of it is you're trying to get a meal out of this girl or something. I've had a little bit of that this year. Some of the friends who have supported me, I've played a little bit on my sexuality. But so this girl leaves. Shah leaves me, goes back to New York. Her parents are like, give up on this guy, he's crazy. The money never comes in. I borrowed up to $500,000 from her mom by now. I'm back home with my folks like I am now at the end of a failed artistic project. Only this time we're not at the end, and it's not going to fail. Why wouldn't it fail this time, Shaz? Well, hopefully I've learned enough to execute by now. And then I'm like, I just need to get I know that California audit, we were onto something. The falling apart of the infrastructure in small town America, the power, our guess that you can't fail at democracy, you just need to remove the blocks to democracy. And my inspiration by Granny D running across, or was it Granny G? I think Granny D, walking across the country. Civics, like, we're so mad about George Bush's Jr.'s war of aggressions and all these macro problems which are huge, but if we get more people involved in the actual process, we'll figure things out. We know that it's bullshit, which I'm realizing now. There is a lot of propaganda trying to paper over history and try to convince us it's not bullshit, but it's bullshit. It takes a 5-minute discussion to get someone back on that tip. We're like, come on, the wars are bullshit. We shouldn't be over there. Let's start unwinding this stuff. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation. Let's audit that shit. There's some civics. The answers start just coming out once you actually have civics. Which is why they keep us emotional, to keep us from that point. Isn't it interesting? We're like, naturally, we just get to that point, we start talking and solving our problems and each other's problems. So they just keep pushing us back, because naturally, we would get together and solve our problems as a normal, civilized society does. So they just push us back with and then this whole presidency has been huge. Every single day in the news is about his bullshit. When we have our own ass to wipe, it's like, you could put that guy in jail and we could talk about this forever, but they've turned our civic discussion into reality TV by hiring a reality TV star to get into it. Whether that was malicious, which sometimes Leslie Moonves said it's bad for America but good for TV. So there is profit incentive, but it also just might be this self-reinforcing cycle, and there's no one evil person. It's just a setup of incentive structures in place which is taking on a life of its own. So I'm recognizing my ability back then to check this stuff out. This whole trip around California, which we only did like a third of the itinerary, but I feel like I'm onto something, but I'm like, anything I do will get some of this wisdom out. So I take George Orwell's book, Why I Write, because I recognize that a lot of these guys really want to be an author. And I think I said in an earlier video, I cared more about politics than art. I do the art, but I do music, my love life. I try to round out my character to do that like Greek thing of like having like I went in the military, be physical, have a well-balanced character. So I think that's more why I do art, but the purpose I derive is from, like, I guess that bodhisattva idea of like lowering the suffering in the world, trying to But the nice thing about Zen is Zen states like, we're all Buddha, we are all Jesus, no one's above you, you're not above anyone. So it's like everyone can do that if you pay attention and you cultivate yourself to the point that you can actually lower the suffering in the world. So I think that's what the politics is about. But why I'm right, I never shy away from megalomania. That's just another tool. So for all the humble talk I have, I also have a decent sense of humor, I think. I have decent other avenues of communication, and one of them is this peacocking arrogance, like when I sent homegirl a dick pic. It's like, I could be that dude if you want. I just don't reside in that gear 100% because it also has its blind spots, which are large. But I couldn't get badass girls if I couldn't peacock a little bit or puff out a little bit. Because if there's a girl in the room of guys, there's a lot of navigating you have to do. And these alpha fuckers, whatever you want to call them, they like to go after the coolest or the biggest or the something, biggest spirit. Not so much money. Money's cheap, but if you have to know how to present yourself a little bit. You could call that swag, or you can call that sauce. That's what's his name? Some rapper said you can also get lost in the sauce. Why I'm right. Let's see if I can do this in 20 minutes. A personal guide to pacifism. Why I'm right. The founder and the follower. Patriotism and the American conscience. Part 1. America, You're America. Sunday. Part 2. Classes at War. Monday. Part 3. The Open Source Revolution. Tuesday, Wednesday. A hanging about Saddam. Thursday. Politics and the dominant culture. Friday. So I was going to try to write this whole thing in a week. I really rushed these. I've been doing this project for like 2 months. I've learned to give myself more time and space from real estate. But like even now, this video is going to be 40 minutes. But there's a lot of ideas in here, and I guess I needed to vent a little bit. So we'll probably do 2 videos today. But then I think we're going to do a series of 30-minute videos, and that's going to catch us up a little bit when I get into the music ones. So why I'm right. From a very early age, perhaps the age of 5 or 6, I pledged allegiance to my country every workday, excluding the summer months. Remember, so I'm taking his syntax, his words, and just put my words over him. So if you look at his writing and what I'm writing, should be about the same word count. Maybe I fudge it every now and then, same paragraph, same sentences, definitely the same sentences, same paragraphs, sometimes the same commas and stuff. A lot of the same words, actually. From a very early age, perhaps the age of 5 or 6, I pledged allegiance to my country every workday, excluding the summer months. Between the ages of about 18 and 20, I tried to defend this country, but I did so with the consciousness that I was outraging my true nature, and that sooner or later I should have to declare my pacifism. I was the middle child of 3, and I had an active imagination. For this and other reasons, I was somewhat rebellious, and I soon developed a suspicion of authority which made me troublesome throughout my school days. I had the stubborn child's habit of creating my own priorities and holding off on schoolwork, and I think from the very start my sense of justice was mixed up with my feeling of being coerced and manipulated. I knew that I had a facility with and a power of high reasoning, and I felt that this granted me a sort of defense which I could use against what I suspected were stifling institutions. Nevertheless, the volume of serious, i.e. seriously intended, rebellion in which I participated all through my childhood and boyhood would not amount to a half-dozen incidents. I rejected preschool routines at the age of 4 or 5, or so my parents have told me. I cannot remember anything about that time except that there were children, and I didn't feel like one of the children. A good enough conceit, but I fancy the conviction was a form of shyness. At 12, when Bill Clinton was 1 year in office, I'd come around. I was chosen to read an inaugural speech, we talked about that, I had written for the dedication of our elementary school, and I drew the mascot for our class banner, Percy's Penguins. But as I grew older, I began to earn bad grades in the education system. This led, in middle school and high, to invitations for academic pentathlon and decathlon teams, which sought out bright students with poor records. That was the general pattern that would follow during those high school years. Intelligence paired with an unwillingness to perform. However, throughout this time, I did, in a sense, engage in intellectual activities. To begin with, there was the school library, which I visited often and with much excitement. Apart from assignments, I read paperback things which were filled with what I now recognize as revolutionary concepts. At 16, I digested the autobiography of Malcolm X, as told to the good Alex Haley, in about a week, and recognized a kindred soul. So me and Randall, we, in that little yearbook, you can tell that we had been processing that together, because he mentioned, yeah, Black Panther, or no, he said Malcolm X, next, whatever he said, but I forgot that he was kind of like my, we would talk about stuff. We talk about deep shit. He was a smart kid. He was the governor of California in the YMCA program, and now he's going to Berkeley Law School. He's a smart. It's just I haven't talked to him since high school. So that's what society does. It takes you into these paths, and you become a matriculated version of yourself, but you're also a version of the path, and that's what I was trying to avoid. And that's what I guess I keep coming back to in my romances. If I didn't create my own philosophy of love that then also proved beneficial, if I didn't go and make money, make $500,000 in real estate, and be able to come back here and tell my folks, look, I'm down, but I have a skill set. You guys have seen, like, even when they do business, I check with them. All right, so what are you doing this month? You have this, and that. That's good. This is what I would look out for. That sounds good. That's cool. And I told them, after I try to sell this book, if things take longer than I think they will, I'll make them some money in insurance again. I'll go back and I'll work. I told them I'm going to be finished with this by the end of December. I was just giving myself the year. But yeah, if I didn't do these things to cover my blind spots and actually verify that I think I know what I'm talking about, then I would have a lot more insecurities. So it seems like my life has been to retain my sincerity and my uniqueness while checking my blind spots and achieving success to unravel my insecurities until I have this thing that I have now, a sense of self, which I believe is on a foundation of learned wisdom from living life, reading and other stuff too. You don't want to reinvent the wheel too much. But I feel like, and I would tell people this during these times, I would say, my ideas are my own. I feel like I've earned them. So by the time I read Shakespeare, read the Communist Manifesto, other stuff that I haven't really dug into, I read Don Quixote, and that's affected me. I act quixotic adventures. So I didn't want to be affected too much by what came before until I made my own opinion, even in romance. And it seems like even this little, what could be a Tinder hookup, I'm like, but you got to kind of accept me on my terms. And it could be, I guess, so people take that as arrogance, why I'm right, this book right here. It seems like a very arrogant, I know everything type, but it's not that I know everything, it's just I know what I know. And I've told people that before in arguments. I know what I know and I know what I don't know. Who did I say that to? Someone's trying to bullshit me. It's on tape. It's with the lawyer. The lawyer when I got evicted, him and the landlady. And I told him, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. I don't know, what did I say? And I said I was going to take what they're trying to get me to sign in court. It's totally illegal, trying to force me to sign something in court he just drew up. I was like, let me take it to the lawyer to review. He's like, no, give it back. And I'm like, this is bullshit right here. This is screaming fraud or whatever the fuck you're trying to do. I don't need to fucking be a lawyer to figure out that if you won't give me a document to take to my counsel to review. When people would ask me, can we review the lease? Yeah, we send it. You're supposed to get it the night before you come, because at the signing, we're not going to let you come in with your lawyer and bug everyone with 5 hours of questions. But if you want to review it, or if you want to send it to a family lawyer yourself, we're supposed to send it. And if they don't send it to me, I'll send them the standard form. That's why you have standard form leases. I'll say that we're either using the Blumberg legal form or the REBNY Real Estate Board in New York lease. And I had copies of both of those, and I would send them to them. It's going to be one of these. It's all basic boilerplate stuff. There's not going to be anything funny. There's going to be maybe a page attached to that describing where to take out your trash and how much the fee is if you're late. But we're not doing leases where landlord drew it up by hand himself. Probably 1 or 2 out of 100 transactions you actually had that type of thing. And then if they wanted to review it, it's reasonable. So anyways, digression, but we're going to do more than an hour of this time. So this is my first attempt at looking at my life. I guess I went on this California trip and I realized I had some insights that were proven valuable in the real world and proven when we were talking to people. It's like, oh shit, I'm onto something, because shit's fucked up and stuff. People feel it. We're all feeling it. Like this this, what the heck, this recession really woke people up. Now we're a little bit more comfortable. Even though it was a jobless recession, things are better. But back then, people were like actually questioning all of our systems, questioning the government, and they are now, but a lot of our narratives, top-down, seated narratives, have been distracting us with emotion. But I think if we calm people down, they'll remember that we were actually, there's other stuff going on that we should be questioning. The war. So this came as after I finished up with Shaw. I didn't go just straight back to my folks' house. I stayed in San Francisco for a little bit, which is a good aside, I guess. And then we'll pick back up the next video. And I was living out of my car still. She was gone. My idealism and my fervor for doing something, and my pride, I guess. I didn't want to admit failure. So I was like, all right, I'm going to still trying to figure out how to do the website. I was like, if I get the website up and that writing and the videos, which now have been hidden from me by YouTube, but if you see the videos, there's a lot of videos, a lot of content. I thought maybe I could just, and this is how I felt in Occupy Wall Street too. If I just get the content up, I could monetize it. Not giving myself enough time to be successful. Real estate kind of taught me when you're grinding. It took me a couple years to grind, and when I started this project, I thought, maybe I sell the project at the end of the year. But if I don't, I have to be in it for like, I did 5-6 years in real estate. So I have my worst case scenarios. If you're going to do something and you're going to grind, I've done it before and it didn't happen overnight. But back then it was like living in my car, barely any money. I think my mom sent me $50 here or something, and I'm buying. I remember I would go into a coffee shop and get a coffee and think if I could afford the $1 egg, boiled egg or something, barely eating. I guess I went through that this year. So I guess I did stuff like this just to remember times in my life where I've done stuff like this. Yeah, and I was reading out of the books in the trunk of my car while I go to coffee shops, try to work on the website, figure out how to monetize it. I didn't get anywhere. It's just a lot to learn. Just basic WordPress stuff. But you need a calm environment too. That's what real estate also helped me is when having an apartment and a nice computer and nice screens and a routine, the routine really, and that's where that poem comes from. Wake me in my own bed after full rest to make love before eating a large breakfast of meats and fats, smoking deep in contemplation within gardens with my second cup of coffee. It's like you need that nice little routine and that's where like I guess only after I was comfortable did I allow my mind to wander up to that spiritual level and actually choose. And then I recognized other kindred souls in history, and I was able to read. So it's hard to do it when you're on the street because you have a constant existential thing for survival. But I think I've achieved somewhat of that this year, letting go of everything. But I'm looking forward to comfort again. A level of comfort. I think I'm always going to keep a level of chaos in my life too. So I was reading Jack London, and he's from the East Bay. He grew up stealing traps and boats on the bay, San Francisco Bay. He got caught by the police, and then he turned informant and started ratting out his friends and helping the police catch them. So everyone hated him, thought he was a crazy kid. He was starting to get drunk in the saloons by the time he was 15, 16. They were like, this kid's not going to make it to 18. I mean, he just had a lot of spirit, a big spirit. He did a lot of other stuff, ran for mayor of Oakland. He tested into Berkeley, the university. He wanted to be a writer, and he held himself away for a year until he actually wrote, based off the stories of when he went up to the north to go panhandling and prospecting. And that's what White Fang was all about, and all those books about the wolves. But his political writings, it was the social writings of Jack London is where it was at. And the Iron Heel, his essays. He was back then you didn't have the internet, you had the mail, which was the internet for them. You could learn anything through the mail. Japan modernized their military through the mail, learning how to build these fleets of boats and modern military equipment. That was all, they shipped it in and then deconstructed and learned how to, I think that's how the story went. Yeah, he was, there's this correspondence around the world of these revolutionary ideas and socialism and anarchism, and he was very much an idealist. He built his own house, I think, designed it himself. He built his own boat, and then he wanted to sail it around the world, but he suffered. He didn't have he had a bunch of misfortune and maybe bad planning. But I'm reading this guy. I bring him up because this point in my life, right after the citizens audit's important, because I am on a similar quest now where I'm very idealistic and I'm trying to do something magnificent and then try to monetize it. So I want to learn from the past. But also just times in your life. I was when I had a shower. I just went to Slab City, so I recognize this type of living where like just fuck comfort. Like I would go to the nudist beach on the North Shore of San Francisco, right by the you can see the Golden Gate Bridge, and I'd just walk into the ocean with my loofah and shampoo. And there's like at a nudist beach, if you've ever been to a nudist beach, there's a couple cute couples, maybe some girls, but then there's older dudes, mostly older dudes, and or there's like there's this gay bodybuilder type. I don't know. Some people look gay, but that might be my judgment, which isn't always proven correct. Just sort of peacocking out there with his chest out and his like half semi-erect penis just kind of like waving in the wind like a flag. So like there's stuff like that. Like if you're gonna be a nudist beach, you have to have a thick skin because there's gonna be some overt sexuality because there are like swinger type energy there. And then I've had couples tell me that yeah it was cool, but my girlfriend got a little bit hit on. I had to push that energy back a little bit. You know, a pretty girl's gonna get a lot of dicks flying at her at a nudist beach. But that's why you go with your friends and you have your little community. But I was just like this hairy guy just walking in the ocean, just shower in. I don't think I shaved there. I shaved in the public bathrooms, and yeah. And then I bring it up because Nancy Pelosi is fighting to retain her Speaker of the House position, which she always seems to have when the Democrats are in power. But this is 2010, and the Democrats were in power. They had Congress, the Senate, I believe maybe not the Senate was tied, but they had the presidency and Congress. Why don't we stop the war? Every single election, it seems, since those wars started, have been a referendum on the war. Uh, our president right now um, talked as if he didn't like foreign entanglements and these wars are stupid. He's now calling for the invasion of Venezuela and increasing the military budget. But if you heard him on the campaign trail, his rhetoric sounded a little anti-war, a little bit. It doesn't take much to make the case that this $6 trillion is what's robbing our local communities. It's a wealth transfer from the treasury to private hands. The military is becoming more and more privatized. So that's just a money grab. This argument doesn't require that much to be made, and there's veterans making it now and a lot of people, but you have to break through this noise. So while I was trying to do my citizens audit, when I started talking to people and be more emboldened that, wow, my ideas actually have traction in the real world, I got back to the war. My mind after Shah left, I was like, the war is where it's at. Let me find the one big injustice. And also, I think I just gave up on that project with a whole name. I'm not Shaz, so I didn't. Stopped emailing media, stopped telling people what I'm doing. I'm like, let me just focus on the war. Nancy Pelosi's office is right there in San Francisco. So I started walking back and forth in front of her office. And yeah, I just I was in my BDUs, military camouflage from when I was in the Army. It was in my car. And so they're good pants, so I had them on. I had them with me. I put those on. I wrapped a tattered American flag around my leg, and I just walked for like 5 days. I was going to walk the distance from the border of Iraq to Baghdad. That's the southern path of the invasion when we did that caravan up into it, which I got from my notes when I read all those notes about the war. So, and I saw how emotionally I got just reading those notes. So back then, and that's me processing over 10 years now. So back then, that's why I didn't write about Occupy Wall Street right after I got out of it. I knew I needed time and distance. And I think I have enough now, and I have this practice of being aware of when I get emotional or when I get out of the comfort zone I like to be in rationally. But back then, I just walked until my knee hurt, and I was afraid I was gonna like actually hurt myself. And then but yeah, I walked until my knee swelled up, and then I couldn't walk anymore. And I called my mom and asked her for money to come home. She sent me $100 for gas or something, and I drove home. And that's when I wrote this, Why I'm Right. So Shaz backed up against the wall. His girl's gone. His stupid little protest against Nancy Pelosi's gone. His body's breaking down on him, and no one's listening to his whole citizens audit thing. And he has all these videos which he spends so much effort on, and now those are gone because YouTube has taken him, hidden them from me. Um, I still think I'm right, and I still think I have like, you know what? But let me just explain myself. I'm gonna let you finish. But and I guess that's why I identify with some of these megalomaniacs. But I also recognize what it is. It's Is it defensible? I identify with the creatives trying to form their own voice. We need that, and then you also need to take a step back and always have context.